Hey, let me put some lip gloss on right quick. It's gonna be talking, so I need something on my lips. How y'all doing this Monday after the holiday? I'm doing okay. That's a no sooner I get on here to hear the phone going to ring. Lord, hold on 1 second. 1 second, I'll be damn. Sorry about that. No sooner I get on here, the phone want to ring. I still got a landline because I run a business out of my home, but I get a lot of scam calls all day long. So this live is all about the Diddy and the Cassie, honey. I was gonna go live this weekend, but everybody and their mama went live about some people did. Ones I was seeing, in my algorithm, I was seeing we got YouTubers out here windmilling about the Diddy case aftermath or whatever. You got folks getting upset at people for liking posts. Then we got the bombshell. We got Mr. Man that stepped out here and said, Cassie, come on over here. I want some of that $30 million. That dang on Escort said, you called my name all up in the trial. I was abused. So are we believing all victims? I'm like, this is getting really messy. It's getting really messy. I seen Dr. Umar commentary. I seen Tasha K's live with said sex worker or escort. I've watched The Punisher on different on Vlad, on Pierce. I've watched, honey, I done went down the Diddy rabbit hole. So I was like, I'm gonna get all this out so I can be done with it. Can be done with it. But this is getting very messy. And Lord have mercy. I straight hope that Cassie doesn't have to give out too much of her money. So let's get into it. So we started out with the win with Diddy. Some of it he lost, some he won. And people were upset. Even the YouTuber Armand, he got hit because he out there dancing in the streets with the baby oil. Now, I will say this, as I said before, I do believe like I say, two things can be true. I do believe that Diddy is an abusive person. He's probably a horrible person to work for. My thing was Rico was not it. If we could, they can get him on whatever. Rico was not it, and kidnapping or sex trafficking, I don't believe was it either. So let's go down this rabbit hole of what these folks are saying. So let's start out. Let me put this back on the stage, honey. Let me go on over here to good old Instagram. So we're going to start out with Diddy's attorney talking.
Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had. They're not stopping, but one thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or certainly right enough. They acquitted him of the sex trafficking, which he was absolutely innocent of. They acquitted him of the racketeering conspiracy that he was absolutely innocent of, and all of the components to it. The kidnapping, he was innocent of that. The arson, he was innocent of that. The obstructing justice, he was innocent of that. And that is no longer just me saying that. That is the verdict of our jury. So today is a great day. Today is a win. Today is a victory of all victories for Sean Combs and our legal team. Today is a great victory.
Okay, so today was a great victory that day. You know, they was like, okay, it was a great victory, honey. We gonna push the envelope a little further. We're gonna push it and say, we want Diddy to go home today. And Judge said, not too much, not too much. Stop you celebrating. Because we're gonna make his ass wait. He gonna have to sit down here because we got your own admittance to being an abusive person. So they're like, oh, what? Diddy can't go home? No, he can't go home for this holiday. So you're going to sit here until October, I think it's the 13th, I think it is. 3rd or 13th, one of the two. So it's like, okay, we're going to sit here. So they want some expedite. They want the sentencing expedited. So they're supposed to come back, I think, tomorrow and work on it. So then because of, the sentence was he was denied bail because of him being abusive. Then there was letters sent in from Cassie, his chef, and then that, I don't know what the guy's name, but it sounds like a black guy. They all said they were terrified, scared, and all these things. So I'm like, okay, you could be scared. I can't say how someone feels, but Miss Cassie, the girl that says she still loves Diddy on the stand, the girl that named her first child after Frank Black. They say that Mr. Fine's mama name is Frankie too. So I'm not very sure, but it looks a little suspicious, So then after all of that, Judge Mathis come down. He's like, wait. According to what the jurors had done, we have to listen to the jury. And the jury, the guidelines for a first-time offender is this here. So let's go over to what Judge Mathis had to say.
By now, you know that Sean Diddy Combs has been convicted of interstate transportation of prostitutes, two counts, and has been denied bail. Although I really am concerned about the assaults against the women, particularly disrespecting Black women as such, we must go with what he has been convicted of and respect the jury. And as I had predicted, he should be convicted after hearing and closing arguments of only the two counts of interstate transportation of prostitutes. We'll see in the future. Listen to us this next week on the Mathis verdict as we'll talk about the entire case and the sentencing. The sentencing guideline for a first-time offender is 21 months to 27 months for each count. We'll see whether they're consecutive, whether they're concurrent, or if he deviates from that first-time offender assessment or sentence, if you will. Stay tuned.
Okay, so he said stay tuned. So, the first-time offender, usually they don't get too much. People were saying, because what Diddy's done. And I'm like, I'm asking, what has he done other than we've seen that we know for a fact what he has done? We know that he beat that girl up. We know that he got prostitutes. We know that the women got the prostitute, Jane Doe and Cassie. We know those things. The women, Jane Doe and Cassie, and some of the escorts all got immunity. So they were able to be witnesses. They didn't want to be witnesses. The feds made them be witnesses Because like I said, if Cassie wanted him to go to jail, she would have did it years ago. She would have did it years ago. She would have pressed charges then. She wouldn't have went back. And I don't care what some people say. Oh, she was brainwashed, or oh, she couldn't leave. Didn't she leave him in 2018? Was that 2 years? She still could have went down there. No. And I think that's one of the things that the jury got right, is when you go after monetary things instead of going for criminal things. So, but I'm not saying Cassie didn't deserve every piece of that $30 million that she got, because I ain't never had no ass whippings like those. So I can't tell you. I don't know. She got paid for her pain. My thing is that she's now scared. Has she been scared all this? Like a Diddy she got that money in December of 2023. He ain't getting locked up to September of 2024. What was she scared of? That's what I want to know. What was the chef girl scared of? I don't know. Because seems to me that, if I would have been Cassie, I'd been long gone out of the United States anyway. So I had to put all my business out there like that, because I would have never did it. I would have gave them what they wanted to know. But far as all those details about everything, but I guess she put it in the lawsuit, so she had to say it. I guess my pride. So I was watching some other people, and I don't know if I saved it or not, but some people some people were really in their feelings about Diddy. It was like feelings over facts. And the whole time that we thought about this case, it was made known about the case, we thought we was going to get the case was very salacious, but we thought we was going to get some drugging in the baby oil. We thought we was going to have a lot of witnesses saying that Diddy did something to them. We thought it was going to put it point blank, period. We thought we was going to have some men up there saying that he had art them. We didn't get that. Because, a lot of people say, because the feds, the feds don't play. They have a, what was it, like a 95 or 90-something percent, conviction rate. And then someone had actually said that, oh, his lawyers messed up because we thought that the initial plea bargain was like 5 years. But then I was watching, I think, was it Garrigo? Somebody, I can't remember, because all of them is crossing paths now. I don't know. But they said he was offered in a plea 27 years. I don't blame Diddy. What do you have to lose? Because they probably was going to offer him 27 years plus take all his shit. And that was the biggest thing. And that's where I stand. And I don't care who gets mad about what I say. We know he did not make his money that way. He could be an asshole, but I'm pretty sure. Did they run a RICO on Weinstein? No. I don't believe so. He might got all that years in prison, but he still got his money. Did they run a RICO on Epstein? I'm not sure. And I'd like to know what they're going to do with these old men in this, what is that? Abercrombie and Fitch. I'd be saying it all wrong. The former CEO of that company that had that, was it it was a human trafficking or a sex trafficking ring that was international. Will he get a RICO? Because these folks weren't even trying to do this. They was just going thinking they was going to model. Next thing you know, they was getting drugged and getting it without consent. So I don't know how that works. So, I said, let me get up here and let's kind of go down the rabbit hole. Let me dig the hole. Let's dig. So we already know he didn't, he has to wait till October 3rd. Something happens tomorrow. I don't know. Whole bunch of court stuff. So then we go from the, people were all excited. They were still, Diddy about to get out or whatever, and then he didn't get no bail. So then we had Judge Mathis saying his piece on it. People got mad at the judge. Like, Judge Mathis, why are you talking? He's a judge. He knows the law. He knows a lot better than we know it. As far as we knew, that the feds had a lot of stuff, which they did not. They just want to make people, I really feel like, they tried to ruin his reputation. But, if he gets out soon, I think he can overcome it. We got short-term memory. People have been talking about Diddy all these years anyways. So what? If it would have came out in that court case that he was probably really, really, really for real, what everybody thought about him, it may be different, but he can't get, I don't know, because he was only convicted of the prostitution stuff. And how many men have done that? With his power. We all seen the movie Pretty Woman. Y'all, if you my age. So let's go ahead. When that Mann Act apply to him, all the girls like the movie Pretty Woman. I couldn't stand it. I think I was a little immature, for the movie. I ain't started liking it until later, but I remember I was in basic training when it came out. And when the women wanted to see the movie, we got a chance to see a movie, everybody wanted to see Pretty Woman. And it's about a prostitute. A low-budget one at that. That strikes it rich with a upstanding man. So from that, we got people commenting or leaving, liking stuff. So first they came after Tiny. Here we go. It says, Tiny says people want to charge you so bad for being freaky. As Kim Porter's best friend praises God for the outcome of Diddy's trial. And her name is Ebony Electra. She praised God. She said, opinions, we are entitled to them. Mistakes, we all make them. Judging, we all do it. Gossip, we are all guilty of it, because that's what I do on here. I gossip. She says, but God's will is higher than any opinion, mistake, judgment, or gossip. If this is God's will for Puff/Diddy, then that's his will. In the end, what we think does not compare to his will. Who are we to judge? That's God's job. It's all in his hands. You never know. And she got on there, she got different hashtags. Read your Bible is all in the word. And that's her opinion. So, Tiny liked the post. And she go, yeah, people want to charge you so bad for being freaky. It's nasty work. She said it's nasty work. Honey, them folks is out here clowning. And then so the girl that, let me go back over here. The girl that accused Tiny and T.I. of doing nefarious things to her and making her eat her box and all this kind of stuff, she had something to say. Now, lady, don't you still owe them $10 million? And you still out here talking because they got you for defamation of character. So, let's go over there and see exactly what this woman had to say. Let me go on and find it, honey. So I was like, oh, let's see here. Cause they coming for him, honey. If you like anything, they coming for you. So here, this T.I., he had a positive message.
Yeah, man. I'm just out here, man, just thinking how beautiful it is today, man. You know, it's a beautiful day to not be a buster, man. It's a beautiful day to not hate on nobody. It's a beautiful day to not spread lies and to not be negative. It's a beautiful day, man, to mind your business. It's a beautiful day, bro. God has blessed us with this beautiful day. Don't take it for granted. Don't take this beautiful day for granted. Don't be out here spreading propaganda just because you unhappy with your life and yourself. Man, God has blessed you too, man. He got your blessings. Don't look to nobody else and point blame at somebody else because you ain't reached and tapped into your blessings yet. They coming. All right? All right? And furthermore, I'll be in DC, man. I'll be in DC at the Improv. It's 2 more shows. The rest on sold out. Yeah, man.
Okay, so her name is Sabrina Peterson. Says Tiny had to eat. Wait a minute. Says Tiny had to eat. Excuse me, I can't get this out. Had to eat every box in ATL to get a ring. Oh Lord. And alleges T.I. and Tiny passed off as a traffic. Wait a minute. Hold on. It alleges T.I. and Tiny passed off a traffic woman to their son King in the explosive new claims. Honey. So she's saying that in order for T.I. to marry Tiny, Tiny had to go down there and eat everybody in Atlanta. Woman, you about to get sued again. Why? I don't understand it. I really don't. I guess when I see people like stuff, I know they're public figures, but I don't really be looking to see who likes whatever and get mad because their opinions are different than mine. We all don't think the same. So I'm not going to get mad at you for something that I feel that you think is different than what I think. And far as Tiny liking what the lady said, but she even commented too. But then they got on Candy and Shamia. I said, God damn. And let me go on over here. So they got on Candy and Shamia. It's a Shamia and Candy called out for liking the post in support of Diddy. So from what I understood is Candy and Shamia both took it back. Now I'm like this. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down in it. Cause I think you make the story continue when you oh Lord, did I even have up there? You make the story continue when you don't when you do something else. So I would have just stand 10 toes down in it and wouldn't have even cared. But they said they didn't went back and took the lights back. So it made people still talk about it some more. Girl, please, I like the post. I would have liked the post if I would have saw it, because it is God's will. And I feel like a lot of people are acting like this was some kind of abuse trial. It was not. If it could have been an abuse trial, then it could have been. But honey, the Punisher and what is it? This Clayton man both said their only contacts were Cassie. The only people that they dealt with was Cassie. So they said, and she never seemed like she initiated most everything. The way they set it up, they said it, it's in stages. They may start off rubbing each other down with the baby oil. And then, they may do pleasure themselves first. And then, because it has to set the scene. And then they say usually when Diddy walked in, the one with, who was it? It was the Punisher. The Punisher had said I think it was on Vlad TV, that it was almost a year and a half before he realized it was actually Puffy and Cassie, because she usually wore a wig. And he just didn't know it was her. He said until one time he went and he had the room, and it said like on the screen, welcome Sean Carter or whatever. What's his name? Sean Combs, not Carter. Oh Lord, no, not Jay-Z, Puffy. So then that's when he realized, what the fuck? He said, but he knew, because one time he stayed at the hotel, and he figured it had to be somebody high profile. He said because the room was like $30,000 a night. And when he went into the room, it would be covered in sheets and everything, because it's about to get wild up in there. So, he said how she, found him. This was probably maybe more than 10 years back. And basically he was, he didn't, had nothing really bad. He just said what his experiences was, So, but then we have, after all this rigmarole, we had one of the jurors come out. He had some things to say. So we'll go over to the alternate juror. He says that, none of them believe Dawn. So here we go.
Were there any witnesses that made you think, I don't believe this?
There was one that I think, unanimously we kind of all said like, wow. Like it was almost like watching like TV. It was like, like when I think her name was Dawn Richard, that one. Mm-hmm. When she on cross-examination. I mean, I never saw such a cross-examination. It was very impressive to watch.
What was it about it?
I think just how the defense, got into her and really made her, look very not credible. I mean, I even wrote in my notebook that it was like a takedown.
Really? Yeah. And that was pretty early on.
That was pretty early on.
From the open, were there any witnesses that made?
So he said it was like a takedown. They didn't believe shit Dawn had to say. And you know what? They were talking about it before they even started deliberating. They said shit. Let's they probably thought, well, god dang, this dang old story is so, how people be making something that seems so unreal. And her testimony to them was not credible. He already said, looking at the freak-offs, that he said it was really tamed. He said a lot of times, I guess the defense showed Cassie sitting, and then the gory ones, with all the freakiness in there, the prosecutors play, and that's the ones they had to watch with the headphones off. He said, but it was pretty tame. Tame compared to what, Mr. Juror? Alternate juror? Because he probably used to some freaky shit. I thought a lot of this was just really, it was, forget 50 Shades of Grey. I guess the new thing will be, we going to do the Diddy and the Cassie. I don't know. But, so, he said it was pretty tame. And he said, also had stated that the jury got it right. He said if he would, let me back up a little bit. He said that the jurors didn't know who was going to be alternate or not. So he had took over 350 pages worth of notes. So he was making sure that, he took his job seriously. It wasn't like he was a Diddy fan. People said, oh, the jury got it wrong. Because I was watching TMZ show, like when the verdict came in. And it was, they seen Cassie get beat. But they showed the extended version of the tape too. And it was really, I think she left the room with some of Diddy's belongings. And he came out there and did what was very barbaric and wrong and beat her up. She went back to the room. She went back to the man the next day. And she was on the red carpet I think they said 2 days later, because there's couldn't no way that she was, beat bad in her face. I would say that. Now, underneath, I don't know, she's light complected. So, could be. But, like I said, I ain't never seen, none of that kind of stuff, the treatment like that. Because I am when I was younger, I would probably be the one who swing first. So, that's just my nature. So that little short girl, oh yeah. So I don't think if I was her, I'd have been balled up, honey. I would have pulled that dang on towel off that. We would have been tussling now. And they said some of the people who have spoke out said they had a very toxic relationship. So there was times that supposedly, allegedly, that she may have initiated a fight or whatever. To me, this whole case seemed like lovers' quarrels. Lovers' quarrel with a lot of freakiness in it. And who got a chance to be satisfied was Cassie. Now, this little man, I keep calling him little because he looked little on the thing. He might not even be little. He might be a tall guy, but he ain't little in between the legs. Allegedly. His name is something Clayton. And he's the one who's coming, he went on Tasha K. And I watched that whole video. You have to take it with a grain of salt, honey, because I don't know what's true and what's not. All I know is he is suing Cassie and Diddy. Let me go on over here and find this whole issue here. Here we go.
Cassandra Ventura, your idol, did this to herself. She exposed herself to liability when she got on the stand and decided to mention me as the male escort who was with her when she overdosed and Diddy made her have sex with him. That was a lie, people. Cassie had just woke up from sleeping 8 hours. Myself and Sean Combs were exhausted. We wanted to go home. Cassie's the one who forced that sexual encounter. People, she tells you that Sean Combs made her have sex on her menstrual cycle. I can't speak for anyone else but myself. But I know the one time that did happen, that Sean Combs was not responsible for that Cassie, in a drunken, intoxicated, hormonally imbalanced state due to her period, manipulated and forced herself on me during her menstrual cycle. And what I mean by that is I had no knowledge she was on her menstrual cycle because the room was completely dark. She manipulated the room. She manipulated the environment to get what she wanted, and then she totally got up like I was the one who should have been grateful. You're on your period. That's disgusting, and I deserved more respect than that. Cassandra Ventura, as a man, if I had laid down with a woman and forced myself on her and orgasmed in her and she got up and it was leaking out of her, guess what? I would have raped her. So by statute, by case law definition, Cassandra Ventura sexually assaulted me. I'm not looking to destroy Cassie. I've given Cassie more than a year to settle this before things got out of control. The problem is she's being supported by women like you who choose to attack male victims instead of accept the truth, which is that a woman could have lied to get revenge on the ex-boyfriend who broke her heart and hurt her. It happens, people. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and that's true. If you hurt some women, they will do everything in their power. If you hurt some men, they'll do everything in their power to hurt you. But I want to end this by saying this. Cassie did this to herself. They say he who sets out on the course of revenge should dig 2 graves. People, Cassie dug the grave that is Clayton Howard herself. Cassie got on the stand trying to destroy Diddy. She should have took her $20-30 million and walked into the sunset. As a man, if I had...
So, this is Freak Off Escorts files lawsuit against Diddy and Cassie. Claims that Cassie gave him an STD and aborted their pregnancy without his knowledge. Now, he says he was dealing with Cassie. I watched the video. On the interview, rather, on Tasha K's. And I'm talking Tasha K is a messy bitch. She messy as hell. She asked the questions that I was thinking in my head. Because, let me get it right. Because Cassie has stated that she would have, but actually she didn't say BV. She actually said urinary tract. I think that Tasha K might have thought that she was having BV. But this, he also states that she gave him chlamydia. A lot of times, because, you know, I was in the military and I took, my MOS was 91 Sierra. Long story short, I flunked that class, but not. It was like a 3-month class, honey. I had just got out of high school and I was partying in Houston, Fort Sam, Houston, Texas. Well, anyways, the part that really piqued my interest, because basically you would be like, let's think about it. In your city, they have like a what do you call it? Oh God, I want to call it I can't even think of the name of it. Oh goodness, what if someone has an STD and they're passing around, or what is it called? Jesus is on the tip of my tongue. Well, anyways, what my job would have been if I would have been in the military and had that MOS still, I would have been in charge of, you know, outbreaks, making sure outbreaks include roaches, pest control. That's the thing I flunked because I I had to go out there and find scorpions and nymphs, adult roaches, American brown roach. Was it? What else we had to have? I don't know, but I ain't get it. So, and at that time it was during wartime, so they reclassified me as a truck driver. Girl, terrible, just terrible. But anyway, preventive medicine. So what I learned was a lot of times when women would catch different STDs, they are 100% asymptomatic to chlamydia, gonorrhea. You know, the men that start burning first. If the woman don't not regularly getting checked up or whatever, she might not find out for months later. So evidently, allegedly, he says that she burnt him with chlamydia. So he's suing her in a civil lawsuit. He said, because he actually, I think I believe he testified in front of the grand jury, but they never called him, the prosecutors, nor the defense. He said the prosecutors didn't call him because his testimony would have been more aligned to help Diddy than Cassandra or Cassie. And actually, he wrote a book. And who was the man Blackburn or somebody sent to the court, to the judge, and made seem like that book that he was going to use, because he wanted to have like send the book to the judge so they can read it, so it'd be to the prosecutor and to the defense, and read his accounts with her. And he basically states that he'd been dealing with her for 8 years. At one point in time, he thought that it was just him, her, and Diddy. He talked about in this interview, which was messy with Tasha K, that he Lord, that he would have to use so much baby oil, and that with all that baby oil and everything, because Tasha K mentioned about her walls, he said she was just too loose with the baby. He said made it hard for him to climax. He said, but she would climax in like 20 pumps and be squirting everywhere. Really? Multiple times. And he still wasn't getting off. So the time that he speaks about her being on her menstrual, she was upset with him because he was going to do something with his real girlfriend and wasn't going to go. But then he ended up going anyways because, you know, money talks. So she was upset. He said she was allegedly had been drinking and on whatever drug. So when she got him up in there, she hoisted on top of him and did all these things. And he said the lights were off. He said she was already, wet because you know why? He said he didn't know. And then Tasha K said, you couldn't smell it? And I died. He's like, no. He said and so that's what Tasha K thought about. She was about Cassie saying that she had something that all the antibiotics she took wouldn't get rid of it. So naturally, I think Tasha K thought of BV, bacterial vaginosis. So that's why she was thinking that she might have had a smell. He said she always smelled like lavender. He said she always smelled good. She said, after all that sex? He said, yes, she's always smelled good. Tasha K's like, oh. So he couldn't tell that she was on her cycle. He said, till the lights came on, and it looked like it was a emergency. He said, there was blood everywhere. And he went off. He went off. He really went off. And Diddy, stepped in and tried to get, smooth things over because the man was very upset. He thought it was very nasty of her to do that. And he went off. But, Diddy, he said Diddy's the kind of person who does not like, negative stuff. So Diddy would, just like throw some money at him, tell him, shut up. Shut up about that shit. He also gives an account when it's messy. When now the other guy ain't never said anything like this, but this guy, he says, because it's in his book. So y'all look up Clayton Howard's book. I don't know if it's on Amazon or whatever, but Clayton Howard got the juicy details. And he said that one time, I think he thought that Diddy was off some ecstasy. And he said, before everything got going, because, they like to do the baby oil and have them, kind of pleasure themselves. So Diddy just ran over there and just thought, because he ain't never seen Diddy, while they're doing their thing, come at Cassie and start, eating. He went to town and had his booty all tooted up in the air. But, so I guess the way I picture it, because he had to be on the other, because while they're in this, because I guess this phase of the freak offs, that these, at the time, they're both pleasuring themselves, and he's at the other side looking at her, but he's supposed to be pleasuring himself. He said, but he felt like, because he never said Diddy did say anything to him, but he felt like that Diddy was trying to toot his butt his way. I said, oh my God. So he felt like he was trying to toot it that way. He started getting mad. Like, hey, you in the way? And he go, oh, my bad. And he got up. Oh my God. This is y'all catch Tasha K live and hear the whole interview, because I thought, oh, this is hilarious. I took it as being kind of funny. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But only thing I will say about his commentary and the Punishers, they both came up with the same deal, that nothing was to them ever forced on her, and she liked it, doing the freak offs. He said he seen Diddy be very abusive to her. He said, yes. I said, he's a very abusive man. I've seen it. He said, but it was only when, he said, because when you're in that kind of lifestyle, the spouse or boyfriend or whoever, they control it, because, like even if, say, she was allowing him to be with another woman. The control that the other person have is they tell, we all supposed to be doing this together. So you're not supposed to be doing stuff behind the other person's back. And I think that's the issue. But he said, yes, but usually he said little words. And usually if Diddy got up and walked into the other room, she stopped immediately and walked into the other room with him. And then she'll come out and make the payment or whatever, and then he tell them to go. So I guess then they get their thing going. But he also stated, it's like, if you're playing basketball with people, we all in the locker room, you're going to see things you don't need to see. He said, because it never was that any kind of homosexuality going on between him and Diddy. He said, I seen it. He said, I'm like 3 times as big. I said, huh? So, he had big pockets, little member. I said, so is it the Tootsie Roll? And I thought to myself, why hasn't he got, I mean, we all grown. Have y'all ever watched Real Sex? I used to watch that. It used to come on HBO. And I never forget I was watching it. And this man, he said being erect, he was about pinky size. So he got a penile implant. And he was just sitting there, thing just laying on his leg, after he got it. He said that's the best thing he could have ever done. I'm like, why haven't, if I'm Diddy and I'm that dang on rich, and if you feel that inept that you need somebody else, or you just like to watch, or maybe he's satisfied with it. I don't know. But it seems like he would have, looked into that if that's the true rumor, that he's inept. So it was a couple times where he said that, was it, I'm getting them mixed up. One person missed, okay, it was him. And I believe he said he never met young Miami, but he said after years of not dealing, with Diddy, he got a call from him and wanted to know, I guess, if he could meet him in Florida or whatever. He said he went down there. He said he got to hanging out with his old girlfriend and he forgot. And so he said he looked up the next day. He had all kind of, phone calls from him. And so he assumed that it would be with Cassie. And he said, because he really gave up that line of work. But since it was Diddy, he knew it was, they was on his to get a lot of money, and he's familiar with Cassie. So when he had told him, I would spend time with my ex-girlfriend, this, that, and he was like, hey, you can bring your girl up here and everything else. He said, Diddy ain't about to take my girl. He was like, no. He said, but when he found out it was not Cassie, he didn't, he's like, no. So he never got a chance to see the girl that he was talking about, but he just assumed that it was young Miami. So that's that on Mr. Clayton. So Mr. Clayton, he coming for Cassie's pockets. And I don't know if these other men going to catch a hold to it too and try to drain her pockets. I don't know. But I said, this is getting very messy. It is messy as I don't know what. So let's see here. So from that, let me make sure I got all my Instagram stuff on here. From that, we have Dr. Umar. And I kind of was listening to what he had to say. And I thought about it because I said it on my own live. This is before I even heard what he had to say. So I'm going to play him.
Anybody who wants to claim that she was purely a victim is in denial. It's Loon, there's no way. I don't care how much grooming. You're not a child. You're a grown woman and you mixed race on top of that. So you got a white parent. You feel? There's no way you're doing all of this if you don't want to.
Do you think that?
No way.
From a psychologist standpoint.
Not for a woman with a white parent.
What about the Stockholm syndrome thing that people are trying to
Oh, that's very real.
around.
I believe that all of that bears some truth in this case, but cannot be completely explained by it. Here's the problem I had with the Cassie supporters, right? And I empathize with the sister as well because
Right.
Puffy did take advantage of her.
Yeah.
The problem I'm having, Loon, is I'm seeing people go out of their way and make excuses for her because she's not an all-black woman. If Cassie wasn't light-skinned and mixed race, do you really think she would be getting this type of sympathy from the black community or the America at all? No.
Right.
It's because she was mixed race that people are coming to her aid. If this was Lizzo in this case, you feel me? She wouldn't get half the sympathy. She would be called a gold digger, and if you didn't want to be there, you could have left. You feel me? Yes.
I didn't think about
black
that.
women don't give black women that type of support. This is only happening because Cassie is mixed race. Yes.
And there's a lot of people who are, so from a psychologist standpoint, can you explain even what Stockholm Syndrome means to people?
Stockholm Syndrome is when someone grooms you, dominates, destroys you to the point where they eliminate any imagination or memory of you being independent or wanting independence. You start to depend on them. You start to rely on them. They become your world, and you start to believe that you cannot exist without them, despite the fact that they are punishing you, manipulating you, and putting your life in danger.
How I normally don't pay too much attention to Dr. Umar. I don't. I mean, some things, but I thought me as a dark-skinned woman, I said it last week. I said, if Cassie looked anything like me or anybody, looked like a dark-skinned woman, maybe even because I called her Kim Parker, Kim Porter. Kim Porter is beautiful, but would America be acting like, like they are now? Here we have this beautiful, we don't know what color she is, but we know she's not all the way white. I don't even know if she even got any white in her. She might be Hispanic. I don't know. And she's this damsel in distress, and people don't want to believe that a person that looked like her would do those types of things. And I never forget, I was in the comments, and somebody said, we all seen the pretty girls get a train ran on them or heard about them. I'm like, oh, what? And I remember there's I'm not the pretty girls where I'm from, but I don't know. But I've heard of women who got trains running. I remember one when I was in the military, honey. So she was older, and I was young. I was 19, and we were Ranger buddies. I was 19, and she was in her 30s, old to me. And she got drunk and said, line them up. We was the only two women in the whole damn platoon. And she took them down. And I'm sitting there, I'm eating pizza with this guy. And our platoon guy came over and was like, hey, you got to check on your Ranger buddy. Because me and her were sharing rooms at the hotel. Because, when you in the military, you're in training. Because this after I flunked out in Texas. And they sent my ass to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Fort Misery. And we were there. And I got this older woman from Tennessee, hillbilly type lady. I think she was a biker. I mean, she looked a mess, built a mess. She looked a mess. Teeth was a mess. She had to get all her teeth pulled and a whole bunch of stuff done before she can get out of AIT. So we the only two women there. And like I said, I've lived a pretty good life. That's why I guess I got a mediocre life because I ain't never really been through nothing. I guess I had a little shielded life. My biggest thing, my parents got divorced. But anyways, I go to the room. Now, mind you, this is a hotel room that me and her both are splitting. I would say it's about 20 to 30 dudes in this room. Dicks in hand. I never seen nothing like this. Never. Hear me, I'm laughing. I'm laughing, cutting. I'm falling out laughing, and I got scared because okay, we only two girls in here, and I just went in there to check on her. The first, I cussed everybody out because they went in my bags and they had my Vaseline lotion, and I'm talking about white ones, black ones, Asian ones, all of them. And I remember them black dudes used to like me. I'm like, you can't talk to me. You can't talk to me. And you can't talk to me. And you. Yeah. Because mind you, these guys had just gotten out of basic training. Like, I hadn't been out of basic training for a while because I actually flunked the class and then had to wait until they had another class to send me to. So, and I traveled from New Jersey to Fort Sam Houston, Texas to Missouri. Ugh. Well, and this back in 1991 during Desert Storm. So when I went in there and she was in the bathroom, she was in the bathroom with a guy with a hook and a curve. There's a big guy from Alabama somewhere. I don't know. And I was like, are you okay? She said, I'm fine. I said, oh shit. Well, let me get my shit and I'm getting the fuck up out of here. I took my shit and got the fuck up out of there. You hear me? But I ain't never seen like live porno before in my life. And I remember her, you know, like one time, and she was married. And I remember her husband used to call and she would be crying because he's calling her all kind of hoes and everything. And so this one guy told me, you know, shoot, she a biker, she used to this. He said, that's how they usually jump them into the being a biker. I had no idea, so I don't know. Well, she turned around and did it again. I said, God dang it, Everett. Her last name was Everett. So, look, I'm 53 now. Well, I'll be 53 in September. So, I was 19 then. So, this woman got to be, shit, damn near 70. She got to be around my mama age. My mama be 70 this year. So, she got to be late 60s, 70s. And, because I remember she was my parents' age. You know, my parents had me young. So, I'm like, what the heck? Bitch. You done liked all these dudes up. So that's what I'm saying. That's the first time I experienced anything like that. And it was just unbelievable. When I say unbelievable, it was unbelievable because I laughed and then got a little nervous because I didn't know if they were going to, you know, because these guys was ready. And like I said, they haven't seen no women because when we were in basic training back then, it wasn't co-ed. And I freaked out when I heard about co-ed basic training. I'm like, we can't even look at no boys. But that was not co-ed. So their first signs of being around women is when they got to AIT, which is when they entered. We was all in the same platoon, but it was only two of us girls. There was a class ahead of us that we all were in the same barracks as this other class. But I don't know, one of them bitches stole my clothes. I never forget that. Some ghetto asshole. But anyways, I hope it was worth it. She stole my shorts that was from Merry-Go-Round. But all that to say is, wow. Some people, I guess, you know, they like those kind of things. So, you know, that was my little experience with 50 Shades of Grey. That was 50 Shades of white, black, Asian, everything. Because there was a whole bunch of them in that room. So, all that to say, I had similar thoughts of Dr. Umar and what he was thinking, far as if this was a black woman per se that looked like what an average black woman looked like. We wouldn't even, you know, people like, oh, her ass wanted that money. You know how folks do. Because she's pretty, they just can't imagine that she would do something like that. Now, the woman in my story, she was not pretty at all. Far from it. Far as the honey, she was really far from pretty. So then, so that's Dr. Umar and his thoughts on it. I even saw where people just, stated how people were believing the myth versus facts. And the first thing, we heard that all about the baby oil and the Astroglide, So then we had us thinking that, Diddy was around there drugging, people. Putting that baby oil on them that's got a little something in it. None of that stuff came out in court. None of the stuff came out that he was messing with the same sex. None of that stuff came out. None of that stuff came out about underage people. So I was watching Pierce. And there was this lady who's, what was her name? Oh, Lord. Jesus, let me see if I can find it. This lady, honey, when I seen her as an attorney, I thought to myself, oh my God. I'm not saying I'm just going to say it. I expect when you're an attorney or whatever, appearance is everything. It is. And you people going to look at you a certain way when you profess to be an attorney. And honey, that lady was on there and she looked like she just came off the stripper pole to me. That's what she looked like. I just couldn't help it. Let me go over here and I'll let you see what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can.
Movement with Me Too where women were actually starting to be heard, and now we're just going back to regular status quo.
No, that's not true.
Treated as liars and martyrs.
No, hang on.
Story has to withstand scrutiny.
Hang on one sec. I was going to say, Ariel, just to be clear, they have been heard, right? They went into a criminal court.
I said believed. I said we are back.
Can you not interrupt me, given you didn't want me interrupting you? Thank you.
That's the attorney, Ariel. And I'm like, Lord, honey, let me make it big. That's Miss Ariel right there. Pretty girl. But they don't say attorney. And she's handling some civil suits. And she was saying am I paused? What she was saying is that what Diddy has done was worse than R. Kelly. And I said, what the fuck? First of all, he's only been convicted of the Mann Act. Okay? He's only been convicted of that. And then, so you see this bigger guy right here? He had to put her on blast because he's Suge Knight's attorney. And he just let her know, I still listen to A Step in the Name of Love. I sure do listen to R. Kelly. I would play them again. I'll play all the songs. And, I'm from that time where that music came out. I loved it. So I'm going to listen to it. But it was like, wait a minute. R. Kelly is convicted of messing with underage women or underage girls. He said nowhere in 50 years from now or 50 years ago would that be acceptable. And I do believe him. But some of the girls, I think it's one or two ladies that has a civil suit and she's their attorney. And I go, oh, okay. Honey, y'all need to look up Miss Ariel. So she said that just because his conviction, he got off of some things, they ain't got nothing to do with her case, honey, because we still moving forward. So Miss Ariel was debating with the guys, and she was basically saying that the men on the jury basically got it all wrong. They don't listen to women. You know, Pierce was like, there were women on the jury, they just didn't believe or find those witnesses credible. So, you know, she was like, she wasn't having it, and she got to saying a whole bunch of nothing. And sliding back door. Also, I was watching in this, some ladies talk about it, I think on, was it Nessa Air or something like that? And it was a woman from the Black Lawyers podcast. And she made her statement on about the RICO. And she said it was good. She said, because this case was actually a test. And she said it was good that he defeated it. She said, because what would happen is they would make the broad RICO to fit almost anyone being charged with a federal crime, and definitely us. And she said, and we have to look at how they're using it. And this guy here, right next to Pierce, he just said is he from Wisconsin or somewhere, where he's a prosecutor, and he also said that they didn't have enough evidence, but he said he just was trying somebody for RICO. So that means they just throwing this RICO out like it ain't nothing. And a lot of these people that are getting RICO, they're not running a crime, you know, no big old crime organization. They fitting some of those things in, and they're getting them. And you giving these people life or close to it, and these are young people that are getting these charges. Again, like I said, when my family member went through what they went through with the federal trial, them versus the United States, it don't feel good. It don't. And honey, they had, the first thing they told them was 50 years. I'm like, what? You ain't killed nobody. You ain't got caught doing nothing. You know, nothing to get no 50 years. 2 girls get to fight, and he the only one go to jail. And I mean, they was trying to catch him, but what they caught him with wasn't worth that. So, you know, like I said, getting you for old and new. We know you done did something, but we gonna try to make this Jimmy rig this law over here so we can get you. So if the law is supposed to work like it's supposed to work, they should have had a charge for the crimes he committed, not try to fit a crime out of Cassie's lawsuit. And that's what they based their whole case on, was Cassie's lawsuit. And that's why it didn't work. Because they knew they couldn't get him on the abuse because the time had lapsed. And everything else was like circumstantial. You know, okay, we think he did this to Kid Cudi's car. Oh, we think he might have did this. And like the one man said, one of Diddy's friends, and I thought this too, for the lady that said he hung her over the banister or whatever off of the porch so many feet up in the air, had her dangling. You know, if you dangling, you fight for your life trying to get up, and he could just hold her. He said, I dare you to hold 2 gallons of milk and see how long you can hold it. Let alone a person. I'm thinking like, damn, Diddy must be very strong. So, you know, they couldn't, you know, all those things, you had all those people come and testify. And we thought we were going to get testimonies that were really showing him doing a lot of crime. And most of it was to try to corroborate what happened with Cassie. As far as that video. But they said it was an escort in the room. And the escort in the room at the time, why didn't they call him? You know, this is with the guy with the, you know, the lips, the stuff around his mouth, Howard Clayton. He said on Tasha K's video, there was an escort in the room. Why didn't they make that escort get on the witness stand? He said because from his experience with Cassie, she wasn't leaving, trying to run away from a freak off. Because at first, we didn't know what the freak offs was. We didn't know what it meant, what it was. We just, whatever your imagination was, we let it run wild until this juror got up there and said it was tame. Because we still didn't know, because it's not like we couldn't see it. We had no idea. So I'm thinking the jury was able to see what was on those videos. They got to hear it. They got a chance to see all of the people coming in and testifying, hear what they had to say. We're only getting the the tweets. So we, have to think about, we're not seeing expressions on people's face or whatever. So from all of that, once the verdict is read, we got Armand Wiggins out there dancing in the streets with everybody. I think he just was out there having a good time with other people. And he in the baby oil and all that. And folks was like, what? Then they got Tisa Tales. They said Tisa Tales over there telling tales. And then Ratchet TV and Tisa Tales is into it. She says that he tried to, or he threatened her. Tisa Tales go on to, what's her name? Nancy Grace, and says all these things that Ratchet TV said did not happen in the court. He said she was in the overflow room. He was in the real courtroom, allegedly. I don't know. But he said she lied. And he said she tried to keep up with her lie because she didn't make this. I guess she made a lot of money off of this Diddy trial and supposedly had people. Her sources were from the feds and all this stuff, but she got it all the way wrong because they had Rico, this and that and the other. And so I guess he had called her out on some things. And she said how the people at the court told her that she needed to get security because, well, she said it on Nancy Grace, that because things were, the Diddy supporters were getting out of hand. Why would the courts tell her that when they got security up there? Why would they single her out? So Tisa Tales, they said, been lying, allegedly. And she over here telling Nancy Grace all these things. And Nancy Grace is eating it up because, she got some things she want to say, but she can't say it because it's about black people. Who knows? But them folks is upset. And then I thought to myself, okay, if a person actually goes to jail for being abusive, how much time do they usually get? Y'all tell me, how much time did y'all family members get if they went to jail for being for domestic violence? How much time? I like to know. Because he's already did a year. Because as far as I know on that Mann Act, there wasn't ever many people who served a lot of time on that. How much time did Chuck Berry get for that? He was in the height of his career. He might have got a couple years. But how many people are recently going to prison? First-time offenders for prostitution over state lines. These prosecutors, they're pissed. Because this was going to be their golden goose. This was going to be Donna Comey's way of, flexing on people. I done got this black billionaire life in prison and we done took all his money. Hey, I'm about to get this big pay raise. And what happened? Y'all only get him on taking a prostitute, across state lines. All this money they waste to do this. But I'm like, so when we see everybody making all these statements, like it's going to be hard for victims to come out. Cassie was never coming out. She came out because she needed some money. I just come forward my ass. Let me get this money from him. He gonna pay me for my pain. Me and my new husband over here, we ain't got that much money. They say allegedly she had to move in with her mama. I don't know how true that was. And if she had a big sex drive or appetite like that, I don't know how that man is pleasing her. That new husband. Because, man, that message. I don't know. Because one thing about it, from looking at The Punisher and looking at Clayton, we was all expected to see some pretty boys. We all were expected to see that. And that's not what we got. What's the name? So, he's older now. But, he said at the time, The Punisher, he said, he's pretty, pretty famous because she searched him up. So he was known in the New York area. So I don't know, because he was a dancer, but he did do private dancing. So I'm your private dancer for money. Any old music will do. I'm your private dancer. So she contacted him. He said it was a year and a half before he realized who they were, because he kept trying to Google married couples because she said married. That's why he didn't think it was Diddy when he realized it was Diddy and Cassie. What the fuck? Wow. So that's all. Is that all the ones I wanted to say? Because I just thought, oh my goodness. Everyone has what they think about the case. And me and you may not agree on a lot of things, But it is what it is. I'm not gonna get mad if somebody likes something that he said. That someone posts or whatever. Because truly, evidently the lady that Candy and Shamia and Tiny liked her post, they're all friends, okay? So a lot of times people just like, I'm going to like stuff, don't think two things about it. But I would have never unliked it because I think just to keep it out of the news cycle, it's just been liked and, we talk about it for a couple of days and get over it. But I wouldn't have, I don't know. I don't think I would have cared too much. But, they do have their brands. I don't know if, I don't believe Tiny unliked it. But Shamia and Candy unliked the post. Because I do believe it's in God's hand. But a lot of things we make our own, we have our own free will to do whatever we want to. So we have that free will, but I don't know, this whole thing is getting messy. I don't know how far it's going to go, far as like, Cassie, you better hold on to your purse, honey. Leave the country, honey. Because I wouldn't, this man saying you essayed him. Because he did not consent to that. What is the world coming to? What is the world where the sex worker get to say you that essayed me? What is the world coming to? And he also says the only way that he believes that she gets, was that him? I think it was him, yes. Only way she gets back to having that, because he said she got up there and lied on that stand. Gets back to having that good girl reputation. He said because everybody knew how she was that's in the industry. You know, that having that good girl, you know, virtuous woman. It was that mean black man that made me do it. So she can get sympathy. But he just killed me when he said that baby on and them walls was stretched so far apart. He says the worst case of blue balls ever. I said, whoa. He had to go and relieve himself. Or sometimes he would go to a club afterwards and pick up somebody just to knock one out. I can't help it. It's messy. I hate that she actually was getting beat like that. Because, you know, no one wants to see anyone get beat. You know, no one deserved that. Because usually, I can't, you know, you're not going to beat me into submission. So, I feel like she probably took as much as she could take, then left. Because, you know, people get to weighing their options. Okay, he's got a lot of money, a little pee-pee. I ain't got to do it to him. I can do it to other people. I don't know. I like this lifestyle. And I think that's what it was. She loved that lifestyle. My hands all ashy. She liked that lifestyle of being able, you know, Diddy was a currency, you know. I'm Diddy's girl. You know, she could get things that, you know, me and you can't get. She's pretty. She's with a very powerful man that's very, very rich. But on the other hand, behind closed doors, she got to deal with this barbaric man that's kicking her ass. But then, you know, some people say that she would fight back. So I don't know. So when it comes to that, yes, he's damn guilty of that. But that's not what he was on trial for, is what I'm saying. His trial was set for RICO, kidnapping, sex trafficking. Well, say sex trafficking. And prostitution. So that is it. I saw my grandbaby about to say something. So I'm about to go and get her. So it's been nice talking to you all. And y'all don't try to cancel people so quickly. That's all I got to say. Don't cancel people just because we don't agree on the same things. You know, I wouldn't, you know. It is what it is. I didn't expect the man to go to jail for life for beating up Cassie. I did not. I don't think that's fair. And I don't expect him to lose all his money for beating up Cassie. I do not. Beating up Cassie or Jane, though, or anybody else. I don't know. I don't. So those are things I had issue with. And I really feel like the jury got it right. Because if we're going off of facts instead of emotions, instead of all the stuff we did, you know, the fodder on social media, which was, as it turns out, seems to be a lie. Until we get some proof, then I'll change my mind. But if we don't get no truth to all that, it was just lies. And to convict a man over lies is ridiculous. And to convict him for sex trafficking and
sliding back door.
People keep going in and out the house. Sex trafficking and what's the other one? RICO is just far-fetched. So that would be my rant on everything. Y'all have a great evening. Good night.